yes, I am going to turn this over to Jason and Sean, who have been involved with this.
Great. Yeah, this is really not an action item for you, but more it's an update. This is a requirement of the grant that the city received, that we provide a regular update to the community, and this is achieving this in one light here. If many of you recall that have been here for some time, the city applied for an EPA, an environmental hazardous substances assessment grant back in 2019 that we received. It's a $300,000 grant. It goes for a period of 3 years, and the city can use it for assessing properties for any environmental issues that are there, and determining the extent of those issues, determining what remediation actions may need to be taken. We can't use the grant for the actual cleanup itself, but there are other grants available for that the city has historically used, and that we're continue to look to use for these kind of projects. Just quickly let you know that the services that we receive through this grant, as I said, it's helpful in determining the actions that are necessary to remediate the property. It also helps us provide future owners of the property. In the case, for example, with Mill on Main and T-Wall properties, it helps us inform them what environmental due diligence is there, so that they don't necessarily have to go to some of the extraneous extents that they need to determine environmental issues, and then we're able to kind of pre-qualify properties for potential environmental grants that we may receive. So, I'm
sorry, which properties did this cover besides T-Wall?
There's a series of them. I've got them listed here, and then
That's okay.
Is there
Good segue.
Is there, and then maybe there's, I don't know if is there a map at the end of this kind of as well that shows probably more the T-Wall area.
There's no map.
Maybe, okay. Well, boy.
It's okay. We can.
So this is, really this slide just shows the T-Wall area, the Mill on Main project area. It's broken out by parcels itself, but we highlight the phase one that was done on every property in that area. And the dates are listed there. Some of the other parcels have had other, more extensive projects of phase two, and then there were in some areas some underground storage tanks that were recognized and removed. This slide here is just showing other sites across the city. The one at the very bottom is the property across the street from T-Wall, that 700 block of South Main. That one we're continuing to work on right now. It's had both a phase one as well as a phase two environmental site assessment. There were some leaking underground storage tanks that were identified there and removed. And then there's kind of a list of some of the other properties around the community that this grant has been used for. Starting at the top, the old tavern that was purchased last year up on North Main at 668.
By our Jefferson Street properties.
Right, yeah, on the other side of those properties.
Just out of curiosity, so the former Boatworks property,
Correct, yep.
would that also include the little island there next to the trestle bridge?
That's actually part of the park. That's not RDA property. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. It's kind of mysterious.
Right.
Yeah. And that was, though, all, when the property lines were different back in 2005, there was a phase one and a phase two done on that entire area at that time. Since the development of the Riverwalk through that area, the parcel lines have been divided. A good portion of that property has been dedicated as parkland. So what remains, when we refer to the former Boatworks property now, that's kind of that area, the squared off area that remains right on the corner of 4th and Michigan.
Where the development, where the Wiesenberg development is going.
Correct,
so
yeah.
Not including the park.
Correct.
And not including the little island.
As it relates to this recent phase one assessment that was done. But there is.
I just happened to notice there were a lot of vegetation cut down over the weekend. I mean, it probably happened previously, but it looked like there's some preliminary stuff with tree stumps and that.
My guess that was probably in the park area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that other area did have some environmental work that was done back in 2005 and 2007, and that brownfield site is actually closed now through the DNR, so they recognize that as a closed site. This is all the properties that this grant has been used on so far. We've only used about 130,000 of the 300,000 as of December 31st. We're still awaiting some updated numbers for expenses that have been made so far in 2022. Chances are we're not going to be able to use the full 300,000 by September 30th of this year when the grant period ends, but we do have the ability to apply, and we do expect to be applying for an extension to that through the EPA, and don't see any reason why that won't be continued. So we are able to use this grant any location throughout the city for environmental assessments that are needed. And
So then, for example, some of the stipulations on those sites that we put out for the potential community garden usage by groups, and we indicated that they must use above ground raised beds that are lined because of potential lead contamination. Could some of those scattered sites also benefit from this type of for soil conditions?
I mean, we could do the site assessment, but we wouldn't be able, if we found issues, then we would have to figure out how we were going to remediate it. So that was part of the issue, why we wanted them to do the above ground raised beds, just because then, we would have to figure out how we were going to remediate the site or take care of the contamination. So,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so at that point, I don't know if they'd be able to use it then or what, but I think that was kind of the reasoning, a
Right.
year or two ago why, we were running into those issues.
Right, because there had been a request
Yes.
to test for lead,
Yes,
and we said no poke
right.
because of that reason. But I
Right.
guess then it seems to me that if we do have the funding, we could,
We'd have the funding to do the site assessment.
but not the
that-
remediation.
Right.
Okay.
So then that's where we would have to figure out, okay, how are we going to pay for this if there is something?
Okay.
And at that point, if the group that was going to do the community garden, would they stay? Would they go?
Right. Because there is another group that is interested now in potential looking at that. The Humanity First Foundation arm of Ahmadiyya Mosque had some
Okay.
conversations last
Okay.
week about interested in finding out more.
Okay. Okay. But we are trying to promote this program as much as we can with all of our development projects. When we purchase the homes, we do a phase one just so we have that information. So we're doing what we can to utilize those funds.
Need to give money back.
Absolutely. Anything else, Sean?
No, I was just going to add to what Kelly was saying. I mean, the remediation would only be necessary if there are, results from a phase 2 environmental site assessment determine
okay.
that there are, particulates that are in excess of the state standards. So, I mean, in a lot of cases, you might say find lead where they dug up some
Right.
lead pipes. You might find some small particulates of lead in the soil that don't exceed the state DNR requirements. We're not required to clean it up, but does that create a concern for a person that's going to be growing vegetables there, for example?
Sure, sure.
you know,
I mean,
yeah.
seems to me we would just go back to the original
Right.
requirement of the lined beds, but
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all I had on this. Any other questions on this grant? I happy to answer any, or if you have any, if you'd like to call or email afterwards, that's fine as well.
Covered it all. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.